Hello, welcome to Three Skulls Tavern. I'm Matt, back for the next Pitchfork Dev Diary. Yeah, this one is number 13, and it's all about character sheets. I'm not quite to the stage where I'm ready to playtest, but I'm close, and starting to look at character sheets, I feel, is the next step to help make me feel like it's one step closer rather than just continually staying in the manuscript. So yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing right now. Again, this is my sort of convoluted way of doing these things. Some people might do a character sheet a little bit further up front in the game design process, and might do it a little bit further at the back. I've decided to do it now because I've also made a fairly big change to how I'm going to be doing Pitchfork, which I need to kind of announce right now. And I want to put a line in the sand. I want to put a stake in the ground, or whatever you call it, a flag in the ground, whatever. I want to basically try and finalize the kind of character elements, because I'm pretty happy now with the change I've made with the directions it's taking, and I don't want to be tempted to change that around a bit more. And by making a character sheet, it's going to make it a lot harder to change that, at least fundamentally. Changing a few things around here or there won't be too difficult to do with a character sheet, because I'm doing everything digitally at the moment. I'm not kind of planning on printing stuff out, putting a lot of functionality into it. This is for playtesting specifically. So the idea here is to create two different types of character sheets. One is an online version that can be used and changed and commented on, etc., as needed when playtesting is happening, because all my playtesting is going to be done online. So I'll be using Google Sheets for that. And the second one is Affinity Publisher, so a PDF version which people can print off if they prefer to have an analog one to fill in at home. And it also allows me to have a little bit of fun with layout software, which I really enjoy. And when I'm just writing stuff down in Google Docs, which is up on screen right now, I kind of get a bit tired of it, and I want a little bit of that kind of creative input from the layout side. So I kind of mix things up a little bit as I'm going, just to keep my interest levels high, keep me motivated, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's the plan for today. Let me just flash up the on the other screen here, the YouTube thing. Let's see who's online. Tony's online. Lasse Borley's online. Cool. Encouraged to try making a Powered by the Apocalypse game. That's cool, Lasse. No problem. Happy to help. Yeah. So the first thing to think about when making a character sheet is, how do you want it to look? There's a lot of thought that can go into here. Pitchfork is a rules light game, so in theory I could pack everything quite compactly, I believe, into an index card. You know, I could probably design one that looks like this sort of size, one-sided. There's not a lot more to the game than that. It's characteristics, it's now skills, some personal information, trappings, bonds, and trauma, and that's it. And I think I could squeeze all that fairly easily if I really wanted to into it, something that size. Or here in International Land, A6 roughly, so a quarter of an A4 sheet of paper. However, for flexibility, I'm going to give myself an entire canvas of A4 to work with. Just because that's what everyone prints stuff out on. I don't see this being run necessarily at tables during the time of COVID. So I have created sheets in the past which are two character sheets on one sheet of A4, so effectively A5, but designed to be printed out, so you could just basically cut it in half and then you've got two character sheets. I might go that route with Pitchfork because I don't see it necessarily being a full-size character sheet. Also, the game, I'm planning on making it A5 format. Hey, Attila. So it kind of makes sense maybe to have the character sheet in a portrait A5 format. So I've got a handy Aquilare, however you pronounce that. Tony can correct me if I said that wrong, but basically that size, that's A5, right? So this is an A4 sheet of paper, A4 character sheet, and portrait like this is what the book's going to look like. So when you're reading the book, that's the sort of size. And again, if you look at the index card, the index card is half of that. I'm pretty confident I could fit an entire character sheet on that. So expanding it double should be no problem. And I'm going to be working with A4. In fact, maybe for the... No, in fact, let's scrap that a bit. I think for the... Oh, God. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, for the Affinity Publisher version, I'm going to try and squeeze it onto an A5 portrait sheet of paper so I can actually include it in the back of the book, and it will look like it would look when you print it out. And then when I'm actually designing the sheet will be a landscape A4 sheet of paper with it on it twice, like that in landscape. So when you print it out, you print out one sheet of paper and you get your 2 character sheets. So that's going to be the design challenge in terms of Affinity Publisher, is fitting it onto an A5 sheet of paper, which I don't foresee being too problematic. Yeah, and when it comes to Google Sheets, that really is something a little bit different. And I've been designing Google Sheets for a little while now, for a few months. I've seen some really good examples as well from, well, really a really great example from Charlotte, who's in all of my, well, she's actually on this channel as one of the players in both Twilight 2000 and Forbidden Lands. She's made a really good cult character sheet in Google Sheets for my Mud and Blood cult game, which is live now on the Mud and Blood podcast. And I'm just going to show that on screen right now. Okay, looks like we've got... I'm just watching the live feed. Sorry for the delay there. I was seeing how long the delay was. It looks like I'm down to about an 8-second, 9-second delay, which is a lot better for interaction. Not like 20 seconds like it was last time. Okay, so I've got so much shit in here, so I'm just going to do a search. Colt. Here it is. I'm going to crack a beer open as well. It's been one of those days. Ah, there's my email address for everyone to see. Cheers. So, this actually looks very similar to the, if I zoom out slightly, to the cult character sheets, and that's how she's deliberately designed it. Yeah, I quite like it. It looks visually striking. There's space to put a portrait on the side. It's got advancement off to the side. It was quite easy. We played a whole campaign of 12 sessions for the podcast using these sheets, and they worked really well. You obviously can't put a lot of visual gumph on Google Sheets, unfortunately, so you're a little bit restricted in that respect. So she couldn't put the... there's a symbol that goes in the background here, a kind of Kabbalistic symbol. But yeah, I quite like it. It looks quite good. So that's a good example of a functional and good-looking character sheet, in my opinion. And then we'll look at some of the ones I've made. So I made one for our Vaesen campaign here on the channel. It's a little bit different. It's quite colorful. I go with colors because I find it helps to separate sections quite well when you've got a little bit of color coordination going on, or it doesn't have to be as colorful as this. I have quite a few colors going on: gray, plus green, blue, and red. But yeah, this is just what I came up with. So the idea here is, unlike Charlotte's, which I'll flash up again, Charlotte's is quite wide. This one is actually a little bit easier to use on a mobile device because it's a little bit more narrow. So you don't have to scroll over to the side so much. It's much more of an up and down scrolling affair to find things. Yeah, Attila, good question. Google Sheets basically is just easier for me to design. Basically, the idea here is that we're using it to track boxes which we are going to be updating over time. And I am a spreadsheet guy. I worked with spreadsheets for a long time. I worked with Excel for a very, very long time, including macros and all sorts of shit. So I'm very, very comfortable working my way around spreadsheets. And I find Google Sheets is quite nice in that it models Excel very, very well. And it's very interactive. Now, the thing here is, if you look at the bottom of this, I've got tabs for every different character, right? I can add a tab for a headquarters sheet, which I'm planning to do but haven't done yet. I can put diaries in here, it's a nice little organizational tool to use. And with Google Docs, you can't flip between these things so easily. You'd have to have a single doc with everybody's on a different sheet, one after the other. And you'd be constantly scrolling back and forth. It would be a lot harder to navigate. And it would just, I don't think it would look as good. So generally speaking, for online sheets, I tend to always gravitate towards spreadsheets just because I really like the tabular format where you got the tabs on the bottom. And I also really like having the kind of built-in boxes for you to put values in. It also means you can do some cool stuff, like down here for our Vaesen game. If you get a condition, for example, you get exhausted and battered, you take two physical conditions. If I tick those, I can have functions in place which automatically add the two conditions to my two physical attributes and reduce the dice pool by a corresponding amount. So I can build functionality very, very quickly and very easily. Like when I built this, it didn't take me very long to make this. I can build all this in very quickly, and I wouldn't be able to do that as much in Google Docs. So that's the long answer, I guess. I was going to go for a short one. Right. Let's talk about the changes I've made, because this is going to be... If people haven't heard about this, I've talked about it a little bit on Discord, but if people aren't aware that I've made these changes, when I start putting elements down on the character sheet, people are going to be going, whoa, 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 this is not at all the game that you were designing on previous dev diaries. Yeah, so I have been struggling with the skill-only format for a little while because... Well, there's a number of reasons, but the big reason is that I can't get a list of skills that I'm comfortable with. I wanted something that was kind of in the region of around 30 skills, but it just kept being these side cases, and it was kind of constraining a lot of my like career design, my career choices and stuff like that when it came to what careers I was going to be modeling and how I would model which skills went into that so that they felt relatively balanced. For example, like I had this big, I think it was in the last or the previous one or two dev diaries ago, I had a Google Sheets document up with a matrix where I was tracking skills to careers. And that's kind of important when you're just running with skills, because you want to make sure that you've created a list of skills where they're being used. And maybe not just being used by one career out of, I think I have 18 currently. So out of 18 possible careers, I don't want all, like the vast majority of them all landing on survival or whatever, manipulation, and, having none landing on something like athletics, or I don't know. I don't even think I have an athletics skill, but something like that, right? Because then it's showing there's a little bit of imbalance where kind of all the careers, it's not about balance, but it's more about careers feeling the same. And maybe I should, amalgamate some of the careers, get rid of some, introduce some new ones. So there's a little bit more variety in the kind of career choice for players. And that's all well and good. And that I had kind of done that work, but I kept thinking of, like in between streams, I kept thinking of times when that wouldn't necessarily work. And there was just it just didn't feel supernatural to me. So I went back to the source material, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I looked at the characteristics. I actually looked at 1st edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And in that game, I've actually got it open in front of me right here. In Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1st edition, you have 11, I believe, 11 characteristics, which are basically like attributes. And if you've ever played Warhammer, you'd be familiar with a lot of them. And they're the main trait that you advance as you play. So when you switch between different careers and do other things, those values go up. It's a D100 game, so they start off around about 30-ish, most of them. That can be a little bit higher, a little bit lower, depending on how you roll for each of them. And as you play, they can creep closer and closer to 100. And the idea is you roll D100, and if you roll under your characteristic value, you succeed. Then there are skills. And there's nothing else. There are no talents, feats, nothing else in Warhammer 1st Edition, just skills. But the list of skills is right here in front of me. Oh, my video is really small. But if you can't see that, It's a whole page, which is 133 pages, 133 skills long. And it's a big mix of things like acrobatics, swimming, but then also what you would consider a talent, like specialist weapon or strike to stun. These are like what you would... In fact, in 2nd edition of Warhammer, they took a lot of the skills out and translated them into talents. So you had characteristics, skills, and talents in 2nd edition Warhammer, which many people consider the best. But the one thing I really, really liked about 1st edition Warhammer is that these skills are not ranked. So you have the skill or you don't have the skill. Now, where it kind of falls over is that every single skill in this game has a little mini rule attached to it and how that skill works. And it makes for quite a crunchy game, one that needs to be referenced really very often when somebody's saying, oh, I want to use this, I have this skill, I want to use it. It's like, okay, let me flick to this section to see how that's done. Obviously, if you're using something like Foundry these days, you could probably put all that text into the, into a macro or into the game itself so that you just click on the skill and up pops the little rule for it. You have a quick read at the table and it'll be a lot smoother. But what I wanted to do here is I want to do something similar, and that is go away from the skills thing, but have attributes, and almost treat it like attributes only. But sorry, I kind of like the idea of attributes only. In fact, my other game, Year Zero Mini, is just 4 attributes, nothing else, and that works really well. Especially for a rules light game. There's a whole OSR movement which is built around just having attributes and nothing else. Some of them include skills as well. But the idea here is that the skills in Pitchfork, I'm introducing a big list of skills, kind of basing it around Warhammer 1st Edition. And the idea is, if you have the skill, it gives you a dice. And it's narrative. So if you have a skill called swimming and you are trying to swim across the river, you get a bonus die to your I guess strength roll, or it could be agility if you're trying to do it quickly, whatever. You pick your characteristic. That's the first thing you look at for the number of dice you're rolling. Then, because you have the skill, that augments your dice pool and you can add that to it. So that's the idea. And when I went down this route, I ended up kind of creating a really massive list of skills. In fact, I have something like 80, maybe more than 80 skills currently in this new version of Pitchfork. But the idea is you could easily create a homebrew career that isn't listed in this game, come up with, either cherry pick a couple of skills from the list I've got in the book, and then just invent a new one. And it won't break anything because it's just like a narrative tag about something that you're skilled and able to do. And I like that flexibility. That fits a lot better with a rules-light game, in my opinion. I don't need to give definitions for what the skills mean. The idea is just the skill is what you can do, and if you have it written down, and you can within the story, you can say, "Oh, I have this skill. I think it's applicable here," and either the table is going to say yes or the table is going to say no, and that's perfectly fine. That's a very natural conversation to be had at the table in a rules-light game. So that's what I'm going with. So there are now 6 characteristics. I'm using the Wolfrup term here and not attributes. I was originally going to include things like weapon skill and ballistic skill, but Pitchfork is not a game about combat. It's a game about village communities. It's got a lot of influence from the horror genre. Think Call of Cthulhu without the Cthulhu mythos. So everyday people investigating weird goings on and... yeah, being quite squishy and not really having like if you're fighting, you've done something wrong, right? You're probably not going to come out of it very well, if at all. So I've ditched those 2 characteristics and I've gone with 6 instead, 3 physical and 3 mental. So let me just pull these up. Here they are. Yeah, Attila. So each skill, currently each skill will give you 1 dice. I was looking at doing a ranked thing where you could have 3 ranks in a skill. Think of it like apprentice, journeyman, master, and each rank, like whatever your relevant rank in it is, you would get that number. But for playtesting initially, I just want to keep it simple, and I want to keep it to just 1. So I might change that in future. That's, again, a fairly simple thing to change. So here are the characteristics. For the physical ones, we've got strength, agility, and precision. Precision you could call dexterity if you wanted. I like the term precision a little bit better because it's how precise you are. And the idea here is that if you think about it in terms of combat, agility is the one you're using for melee combat, like how quick and agile you are in combat. And precision is the one you're using for ranged combat, how precise you are, how coordinated you are, how accurate you are. But precision is also used for things like lock picking or juggling or card sniping, like all these other types of things. It's card sniping or card sharping? Card sharping. I don't know where sniping came from. Then you've got the 3 mental characteristics. Logic being your intellect, your raw mental prowess in terms of being able to figure things out, deduce things, that sort of thing, right? It's not about learning. It's not about, whether you've been educated or not. This is very much a case of how good are you, how well trained is your brain in figuring things out. Cunning is the flip side of that. Cunning is very much about perception. It also is the stat that goes with stealth. So stealth is not physical here. Stealth is much more about is much more a mental thing. Your deviousness and that sort of thing. So it's kind of like a wits type of role. I keep getting these little pings on Facebook. Let me just turn that off. Yeah, so cunning's the other one that I kind of like the sound of a lot. I was kind of trying to think about what kind of mental characteristics I could come up with, and if we have one that is based on your ability to figure things out, I wanted a mental one that could not only be used for perception in your wits, your common sense, that sort of thing, which is also cunning, but could also be used in social circumstances, because I think that's also really important. And cunning can certainly be used in, like, if I've put deviousness in there, because this is the stat you would use if you're trying to deceive somebody. Then finally we have fellowship, and fellowship is kind of like your charisma stat, but it's also like presence, your aura, how well, how people feel about you, like kind of how friendly you are, basically. Yeah, so you're kind of your main social stat, but that's the one you'd be using for charming people, for, gossiping, that sort of thing. Whereas cunning would be, the more devious side of it. That's the 6. Then we have 2 other ones, the secondary characteristics, and we have 1 physical and 1 mental one. That's toughness and willpower. And I've split these out because although these can be used like a normal skill test, for example, if you are rolling for some sort of endurance test, you would roll your toughness pool. If you're rolling to resist fear, or like a kind of cool type of thing, you would roll willpower. But they're also your hit point and mind point pools. So basically, the way this is going to work is as you take damage, your toughness goes down, and that means, as you take physical injury, you're also less likely to be able to kind of tough it out, because the more injury you take, the more likely it is you're going to succumb to it. But the tougher you are at the start, you're going to last longer. And the same goes kind of flip side for willpower. The more willpower you have, the stronger your mind, the greater your chances of being able to kind of keep your sanity. But once it starts going down, there's this kind of like death spiral almost, where as your mind is attacked, it's harder to kind of pull yourself back from it. So this is something I really want to work with. This is central to the whole idea. This is actually what I had in the previous version of Pitchfork as well. So this is stability and vitality renamed to toughness and willpower, which are Warhammer terms. So kind of giving a nod to Warhammer very much in some of these terms. And that's it. So that's them. The skills, I mean, I'll show you right here. I've kind of split it into 2 sections. These 3 columns are the kind of normal skills, and these are the like combat skills. So I'll let you have a quick look at it. You can pause. We've got DVR going on this, which is like dynamic replay or whatever. So if you wanted to pause it, have a quick look at it. I'll leave it up on screen for a little bit too as well. Take a quick drink. But the idea here is that, again, this isn't completely an exhaustive list of skills. You can create new ones, right? I've obviously was typing here and left it, so I'll just put in something like that. So if you wanted to put in something like history, geography, numeracy, literacy, pottery, things that you could absolutely just stick them in there. Like I'm creating a potter as a career. They need pottery as a skill as well as two of these other ones. By all means, add pottery in as a skill. I mean, you can just write it in on your character sheet and there, it's a skill, you've got it. And I really like that idea. So this is kind of like a catch-all that is kind of like recommended for the careers I've created, and other ones to just kind of think about. Anyway, so that's the change I've made. It's a very, very big change. And I'm going to move on. So let's think about character sheets then. I'm going to create a new one. And I've actually, just in the kind of 10-15 minutes before this stream started, I had a little scribble on a piece of paper here looking at some different designs for character sheets to try and get all this information down. So I'm going to be referencing this. Some of them are a little bit more standard looking. Some of them, one of them is a little bit more, is a little different in terms of how I've done layout, a little bit, kind of pushing the boat out a little bit. And before I actually look at this, let's have a look at some existing character sheets, because I strongly believe that I mean, you can always go and reinvent the wheel or try and do things from scratch, but it's always nice to look at what other people have done for inspiration, to just get some ideas and to kind of riff off of them a little bit. So I have a ton open here. The first one I want to look at is Vaesen. And in Vaesen, we have, it's actually two sides here, but this is your headquarters sheet, so we can kind of ignore that for now. But it's pretty standard, right? You've got your attributes and your skills and your conditions over on the right-hand side, taking up like a third of the vertical space. Yeah, and then on the left, you've got your personal information, including your relationships, talents, insights and defects, advantages, equipment, etc. So pretty standard, and this follows a very similar format to many of the Year Zero engine games. By the way, Pitchfork, if you're new to this, if you're new to these videos, Pitchfork is a Year Zero engine game, which is why I'm looking at these specifically. Then we have Forbidden Lands. Forbidden Lands is a double-sided one, so there's a bit more to it. It's a crunchier game than Vaesen, and it's also designed very differently. I mean, the overall look of it is very similar in terms of you've got the kind of a 3-column layout, which Vaesen also has. If you can see it here, 1 column, 2 column, 3 columns, and these are just like a double column width. Yeah, but Forbidden Lands has a little bit of eye candy going for it as well. Oh yeah, there's 3. There's a stronghold sheet on the back, on the third. But it's basically the same thing, right? You've got your attributes and your skills and your conditions and your critical injuries. That is all taking up 1 column, right? Then you've got your personal information, your appearance, your talents, your weapons, that sort of thing, kind of taking up the rest. And then on the second page is where you've got things like your relationships, your gear, if you have a mount, what gear your mount is carrying, your consumables, and notes, and coin as well. So also interesting. And I've actually, one of the designs I've come up with is kind of emulating that, where a third of the space is kind of doing exactly this, putting the characteristics on one side with the trauma and then the skills at the bottom. Then, CCAT. CCAT is the system driving Ultraviolet Grasslands, which is an OSR game. I'm actually going to be looking at quite a few OSR character sheets, because a lot of them are more concise in the amount of information they're showing, which is kind of similar to what I'm doing here with Pitchfork. I'm not sure I can call Pitchfork an OSR game. I certainly like a lot of the principles of the OSR, and I'm kind of following a lot of them. But we'll see where we end up with that. But certainly for inspiration, we can look here. So this, I actually haven't looked at UVG in a while. I don't know if this has been updated. I think this is from June or July. And I'm sure Lucas has probably come up with something, has probably come up with something a little bit more snazzy than this one. But this is an example of one that kind of does everything it's meant to do. It's easy to look at. It's easy to reference. It's not doing anything super fancy, but yeah, it's got everything you need on there, including things like attack modes and combat stats and things like that, which are almost like references for play rather than character sheet stuff. If you just tell me what the link is about, I can probably do a Google search for it. I'm surprised links aren't allowed. I thought links would be allowed. I'm gonna call this here Pitchfork Character Sheets brackets playtest version 0.2 because that's gonna line up with the rule set that I'm using as well. So I'm just giving that a quick name because I'm gonna share this and see if I can drop the see if I can drop it in here. So anyone with this can comment on it. Copy the link, hit done, and then see if I can drop it in. Okay, I can put a link in the chat. So they are allowed, I guess. It must be a moderating thing. Let me see if I can allow it for you. Try again, maybe, Lassa. Oop. Okay, where was I? Looking at some examples. So CCAT was one. Vagabonds of Dyfed is another one. Again, it looks fairly straightforward. Now, this is something that would fit on an A5 sheet of paper. I don't have a physical copy of Vagabonds of Dyfed. I have a PDF, and I have no idea what the actual format of it is because I've only looked at it once on a tablet, and I can't remember. But I wanted to pull this up as an example. Thanks, Tony. Anyway, this is again something where you've got traits in this game. You don't have attributes, and you can put a portrait in the middle. You got your character concept at the top, your level, flaws, lineage, equipment, techniques, and injuries. So again, these are just big open boxes to put the various elements in. So fairly open, but also fairly. It's not going for eye candy, but this would work very well for Google. This would be very easy to put into Google Sheets. They're just big boxes. You just do a merge on the boxes, make sure you've lined them up correctly, and away you go. The Blackhack, 2nd edition Blackhack, has these classes. This is a character sheet, right? You've got your characteristics or your attributes here. You just put the numbers next to them, how many hit dice and hit points you've got, your name, your armor, and what its armor value is, and your inventory, and then XP you take at the bottom here. So it's very simplistic, this game, but also, and if we skip along here to the kind of blank character sheets, this, I think, again, I don't have this in hard copy, I've only got a PDF, but I do have a hard copy of the 1st edition of the Blackhack, and that is definitely an A5 format, which is going to be the same size as Pitchfork. And it certainly fits on, the 1st edition character sheet fits on one A5 sheet of paper, and I imagine this is the same. So, yeah. I could go with a lot of this similar. I mean, this is fairly straightforward. Like, maps notes at the bottom is kind of interesting with like a kind of grid. I want to put a little bit more in here. I've got things like name, age, upbringing, career, distinctive feature, bonds. Bonds are important, or relationships. So I need a little bit more than this, but this is also fairly straightforward, right? The Hero's Journey is another one. Another OSR title. I think it's OSR. Yeah. And here we've got a little bit more at the top in terms of character stuff. I mean, I could add... I'm not going to be doing XP in this game, or alignment or level. But there's other things I could add here in terms of like distinguishing feature and stuff like that. Attributes. Got a bigger list of attributes, saving throws, class features, racial... Oh, we got 2 pages. I didn't actually realize that on this one. But yeah, this is showing how whoever's designed this character sheet has taken the concept of a map, and they have drawn this. They've designed the kind of the character sheet around it. And I quite like this. I'm working my way up to what I consider are the best character sheets. So we're kind of getting there in terms of like visual design. And yeah, I quite like this. So. I don't know if I'm going to do something similar, but the idea here the idea I have for my final character sheet will be to have something that looks quite visually striking. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but for playtesting, I absolutely don't need that. For playtesting, we just need to try it out. I just need to come up with something functional. I've eaten 36 minutes into my 2-hour stream already. I haven't started designing anything yet, other than what I did on paper, so we're going to be okay. I'm just going to rattle through the rest. This is for Dungeon Crawl Classics, and it's made by Dyson from Dyson Logos. Yeah. I just like I like the visual design of it. I like the kind of parchmenty, like the rough parchment edges on it. You know, there's a little bit of like damage to paper on some of the corners. It just looks really nice, I think. Handwritten. Well, everything on here is handwritten actually, which I also really like. I've got a nice set of calligraphy pens. I quite like. You know, doing scripts myself and that sort of thing. So I could also potentially do something very similar. I have a copy of Adobe Illustrator, so I can also you know, write things on paper, scan them, and then turn them into vectors, so it doesn't actually take up a lot of space. And when you zoom in, it looks nice and pretty too, which these won't be. Yeah, maybe they are. I don't know. Don't think so. Anyway. Sharp Swords and Sinister Spells is a game by Diogo. My God, my pronunciation is terrible. Diogo Nogueira. Oh, Nogueira. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. He's from Brazil. He's a great guy. He's done a bunch of cool games. This was his first one. It's very much OSR, and I just kind of like. It's a very simple one. It's A5 as well, or digest sized, and it kind of fits everything nicely in like the hilt of a sword, right? So that's the sword kind of broken there, and this is the hilt. And I just really like it. It's very simple, but it's also striking. And his other games have even better character sheets. So yeah, this is just a nice little example of one that I quite like the look of. And then finally we have Murkborg, or God, it's pronounced slightly differently in Swedish, but this is probably my favorite character sheet at the moment. It looks great, just like Murkborg does. You have your stats in the middle here, with your hit points at the top in a skull. Yeah, equipment on the side along with your weapons, and on the left here you've got your a description of your name, your description, your class, and your powers. It's simple. It's one page. Here's the black and white version of it, for like a print-friendly version, and it just looks fucking awesome. So I just wanted to show that as an example of something that, you know, going for something that looks as visually striking as this is something I would love to create. Getting the artwork for these little pieces here. Like I could do a lot of the myself. I could do a lot of the kind of parchment sort of stuff, a lot of the graphical design elements. But in terms of artwork, I'd be probably commissioning little bits and pieces for that. But yeah. So. Let's get cracking. First thing I do when I do character sheets is I highlight everything in Google Sheets. I make the squares into roughly square shapes like this, so I can easily highlight and make things how I want them. So I'm basically working with a grid. And I generally try, when I do this, I generally try and stay as much as possible to the 28 letters of the alphabet that are originally given to you there. Because that just basically is a little bit of a layout constraint, and it means I've got a little bit of something to work towards. And I like the narrower format because it's easier to use on a phone or a tablet. It's just easier to manage. Okay, so first thing to do is to pop in the artwork I've paid good money for. So I've paid for it. I want to use it as much as possible. Should be on Google Drive. Pitchfork. Interesting. Nope, it's not there. All right. So we're gonna upload. We're gonna go with role-playing 9 Little Bees, Pitchfork, art. And I want number 9, I believe. Yeah. I don't think I put SVG files into Google. I've tried it before. but I can use them in Affinity, so that's something. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna shrink this down a bit, and this is gonna be going just, you know, up here. So this is, you know, when you're using this, you're gonna see this at the top, and it's gonna remind you what game you're playing. It's a nice bit of artwork. I really like it. I commissioned it, so I'm gonna be using it. So it's obviously it's gonna be a character sheet, so I don't need to put that in. But what I do want to put in is, in fact, I'm gonna make this a bit smaller. Because I want to put over on the side here, I want to put some stuff. So first thing is we're going to find a font that I like the look of. So just type in here trappings. I'm going to make it bold, and I'm going to do something like this. No, I'm just going to leave it like that for now. I'm going to highlight everything. So this, as I'm changing my fonts, that will change as well. And I think, no, damn it. Yeah, I thought I could just kind of flick through them. But I can't. So I just need to find one that I like the look of. And these are all Google fonts, by the way, so whatever I come up with, they're all free to use. Well, I think I like this one. That is not Frederica, is it? Oh, bold. Interesting. So this one is actually, I quite like this one. We're going to merge these ones together. We're going to make this bigger. It doesn't really fit this game though, so nope. Hey Magnus. Yeah, it did take that long. I'm gonna go with this nice and simple I Am Fell Great Primer. Bold. Not that one then. We're gonna go with I Am Fell DW Pika. This is the traditional, it's as close as you can get to Dominican, which is the font that is kind of very stereotypically Warhammer. So it makes sense here too. There are some other cool ones, but I've got a massive list of fonts installed on my computer, which I can't use in Google Sheets. So yeah, we're going to stick with like this. So we got trappings on one side. Underneath here, in fact, I'm going to highlight the whole thing. What was this one again? DW Pika. So we're going to highlight the whole thing. We're going to go with that one for the whole thing here. And we're going to go with name. Age. In fact, we're going to do everything. And we're going to make everything bold as well. There we go. All right, so name is one. And I'm going to be going right to the edge of this trappings bit here. Yeah, Magnus is straight in and shit talking. Stirring everything up. You missed an amazing 45 minutes. Of course I would say that. So we've got name and age. Age isn't going to take up much space, so we're going to give a couple of spaces to that. And we're going to put next to it upbringing. Underneath, we're going to put career. Under that, we're going to put distinguishing feature. And I think we're going to leave it there. We're going to leave some space for bonds. Okay, trappings. I don't know why I made it different. I'm going to take it off like this. We're going to make it, keep it bold, but go with 10, huh? It's pretty small. Right, for now I'm just kind of roughly putting where I, spelling out where I want things. So, now we're going down the side here. I want bonds to take up about that much space. And then we're going to put in here toughness. I'm going to make this like that. Put a border around it. Make the border a little bit thicker. Like that. We're going to make that like this and like that. So this is toughness. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste. I don't know how many I need. I might only need 5. In fact, I want to put a space between these, so we'll do it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should probably be enough. And then I'm going to copy that whole thing there. I'm going to paste it over here. And we're going to call that willpower. Okay, then next to these, I'm going to be putting 3 other ones. And these are going to go, we're going to call these, take these 3 here. I'm going to put them here. And we're going to put them here. And these are going to be the characteristics. We've got strength. We've got agility. We've got precision. We've got logic. We've got cunning. And we've got fellowship. Is it FE? Did I put in there for that one? Yeah, LG for logic, not LO. Okay. All right. Yeah. And then right in between them, we've got skills. And at the bottom here, we've got injuries. And on this side, we've got torments. And that's it. That's my character sheet. Yeah. Done. But seriously, that's it. That's all that this game needs. In fact, these ones here, I don't even need to have these as big as they are. I don't know why I drew them so big. Oh, because I think when I plan to have this printed out, I want this game to use paper clips, and you have a paper clip on either side, and your paper clip will be tracking your willpower. So, in fact, what I could do here is I could say toughness. Okay, so if I just get rid of these ones, actually, so I'm going to delete these cells and shift them up. Yeah. We want a number here for your toughness. We want a number here for your willpower. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to stick in some numbers like this. We're going to merge these again. We're going to put a big old box around them. Just like that. And we're going to make it center justified. In fact, I'll make it right justified. And we're going to see what that looks like with a number. It looks like shit. Fuck it, that works. Call that one 2. Call that one 3. Call that one 4. And call that one 5. Yep, that'll work. Is that lined up? Yeah, that's lined up. All right. We'll just make this, in fact, we will do this a little bit differently. We're going to merge these ones like this. We're going to move the number over to the side. We're going to give it a little bit of an indent. So if we go to format, I'll put a little bit of an indent in there, and there's a way to do it. Don't matter. Let's do the same with these ones. I'm gonna merge, 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 and merge. All these are going to be right justified, and these ones are all going to be like these. Merge, 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 merge. Left justified. And the idea here is that these are I can't do it now. I'm not thinking this through very clearly. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, I've basically done the whole character sheet anyway. So we're going to delete these. What we're going to do is we're just going to do this. We're going to put a 1 in here, put a 2 in here, put a 3 in here, 4 in here and a 5 in here, and then we're going to copy that. In fact, let's keep those center justified because they're in their own places now. Put them over here. And then next to them, I'm going to insert a checkbox, which I can just do this with. Whoa! And you just tick them. All right. So you'd have a toughness. So this is probably where I need to do a little bit of thinking about how I make this a bit clearer. Let's move these over to, not there, but to here. And then for toughness, I can put a big border around it, like that. And then it makes it a bit clearer that these are not connected. Yeah. So, do a couple more big boxes. Do a box like this. How many spaces have we got here? This isn't central. I might actually add a column in somewhere if this isn't the right number. We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay, so we just need 8. Skills can go here. And in theory, we could split those into 2 columns as well. Why not? Can merge those together. Whoa, no, 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 no. We don't want anything there, but we do want something here. Alright. Right. Trappings are... Not that. Now what I could do for these headings is I could do something like this, right? Just to make them pop out a bit more. To make it clear that that's not part of the rest of it. Alright. Nearly done. Name is a nice long box. Like this. Age is a little one like this. Upbringing goes here. Whoops. Oh, that's fine. I actually wanted to do that, so I'm good. Yeah, let's just merge these as I go. One less thing to worry about later. Career. Again, I'm not trying to make this look too pretty necessarily. I'm just making it look decent. And... fulfilling the role I needed to fulfill, which is effectively let's get a bit more. We don't need more space than that. It's fine. It's just I don't like having these lines going up like this and then not having lines going up on the side. This is where I get really pedantic. Sorry. So I am actually going to do it. I'm going to stretch these out one more. Stretch this one out one more. Stretch this one out one more. Stretch this one out one more. See, I'm not sure that's enough space for distinguishing features. So we're gonna call it Dist period feature. And we're gonna make this a bit longer, so we got more space to write in there. then for bonds, we're going to take the border off and then put it back on. Like that. Cool. Last thing to do here is I'm going to delete all of the rows below it. Delete. So it's nice. Look at that. So look how compact that thing is. It's beautiful. If you want to add more lines in, you just click here. Add 1,000 more rows. Boom, they're there. Undo. So it's not hard to put stuff back in if you want to. I'm just going to move Pitchfork a little bit more over. So that's as far over to the left and to the top as I can get it. And then I'm just going to drag it out a bit more like that. Can I freeze that in place? Right click doesn't work on it for some stupid reason. Bonds. I wanted to change this a little bit, so let's make bonds. Whoops. Let's make bonds merged here. We'll make it black with white writing, and the rest of it is going to be merged. You can write your bonds into here. Copy, paste, and then put the border back on. All right, and there I've got a functional character sheet for Pitchfork. Job done. So, how far am I in? I'm just under an hour in. I only spent 25 minutes making that. Oh, one thing I forgot to do down here. Let's do the same thing with injuries very quickly. We'll do 3 here. Make it black and white. Same with this one. Black and white. We're going to merge. 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 I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to copy that one. Paste it there. I'm going to copy all 3 of those and paste them there. Alright. Cool. So you can type your... Oh, crap. I don't want it all bold. That's the other thing I wanted to take off. So let's take the bold off of there. Take the bold off of these 2. Take the bold off of these. Take the bold off of that. Take the bold off of that. Take the bold off of that. 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 And off of that. Alright. One other thing I could do, just to make it really pop, is fill in all the gaps here. With something like a light gray. Probably a slightly darker gray than that. Let's go with that one. Yeah, looks good. I'm aware I've gone up a little bit. And yes, this is all unnecessary window dressing, but it's why I do this sort of shit. So I need it. I need it. I need this detail. Let me have it. All right. You are gonna be an awkward fucker, aren't you? Oh, for fuck's sake. Et voila. Now we have the awkward moment where these black ones stand out more than the other ones do, but that's fine. I don't really mind. What I could do is I could just change those to be kind of the same and say, okay, these belong... Ah, no! They belong black. And then I could do, for these ones, I could do something like this. Yep, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And what happens when you take them? They just go black. Alright, that works. What happens if I make these white? I like that. I'm going to stick with that. In fact, we're going to make all of those white there as well. I think. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice. Oop, don't strike through. White. Alright. I think it's enough. It's black and white. That's fine. I don't really care. I could have used colors, but this works for now. So there's my Pitchfork character sheet in Google Sheets. Done. Look at the chat very quickly. I won't disagree with you, Magnus. Yeah, Attila, you have to think that I've been doing a lot of these character sheets lately, so it's just very fresh in my mind. But yeah, this is basically everything I think I'm going to need for this game. Well, at least as I've currently designed it here in a playtest character sheet. This is, I'm going to type down here, template. And the idea here is that I've shared the link in the chat already. I'll put it in the show notes as well for here on YouTube. But the idea here is that, you know, people can just make a copy of this and they can run with it. If I'm running it for an entire group, I'll ask people to do their own character sheets, and then I'll copy them all into a sheet of my own. So like I showed here with Colt, I can just flick as a GM through the various ones to look up various things. I can put NPCs or GMPCs in there if I want to. Although bear in mind, I do have much more simplified NPCs than PCs. So I could fit on a, hopefully, on a single A6 index card, I could fit at least 4 normal NPCs like other villagers and stuff, because the stats are pretty simplified. Yeah. Or if I have these really mini ones too. How big are they? So this is A6. That is A7. So I've got these little mini index cards that I think are A7-ish. And I could probably fit in an NPC on one of these. So I could. I've got lots of them in different colors. I could just kind of write NPCs on here, spread them out in front of me. I do like having physical props when I'm GMing, not having everything digital. So yeah, I could just have these kind of laid out in front of me, or piled up in like in a pile, and I just kind of flick through them very quickly. I could color code them, so some are monsters, some are hostile villagers, some are friendly villagers, etc. Whatever. I got lots of options there. But yeah, that's my Google Sheet done. I'm going to leave it there for reference, but now I'm going to fire up Affinity Publisher. And let's see if I can make one in 1 hour. New. I want this to be A4, even though it's an A5 sheet, so we're sticking with, I think it comes up automatically A4. Where am I looking? 254 by 177.8 might be A5 already. I think that is A5. They should have... Delete that. Let's go with print. Here we go. A5. 148 by 210. Okay, so it wasn't the right size. I'm going to go with it being landscape. Oh, no. Sorry, I wanted A4. A4 in landscape. This is what I want. 300 DPI is fine. Create. Shit. I don't want that many pages. I only want 1 page. Delete. Right click. Delete 32 pages. There we go. I'm on my 1 sheet. And I don't need to worry about master pages. I don't need to worry about any of that shit, because unlike making a book, I'm just creating a single document here. So I'm gonna try and get this control 0 on the keypad. Zooms it right into the middle. So if I've zoomed in and out and I've done this and I've moved it around like to here, if I hit Control 0, boom, I'm zoomed right into the middle of it. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to take off preview mode. I really don't want preview mode. I can go to document setup if I want. I can get rid of bleed, which is already gone. I can go to spread setup and get rid of margins, because I don't actually want any margins on this one. What I do want is I want a grid. So I'm going to show the grid. Okay. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a line to split this down the middle. So I come over here to the rectangle tool, and I just basically make a rectangle that is halfway. And you can see as soon as I get to roughly halfway, it snaps to the grid. And if you look at the top and the bottom, there's like a line, a green line going up at the top. And I can just see by looking at that, it says width 148.5. That is half of the width of this thing, which is whatever double that number is. But I just know from how this works, I have to go roughly half, wiggle my mouse around until it snaps to the grid, and there we've got half of it, right? So what I'm going to do with this is we're going to look at layers. We're going to make sure that that rectangle is at the bottom there, and everything else we're doing from here on out is on top of it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to place my cover art as an SVG with no sub. right here. It's white, of course, because I'm new to not new. I don't use Illustrator very much. I can use Illustrator to Adobe Illustrator, that is, to create vector images, but they always have a white background because I haven't bothered to look at the tutorial on YouTube to tell me how to get rid of a background and just to make it like a normal PNG would look. So instead I have this kind of silly looking, you know, big box around it. But I can zoom right in on this thing, and because it's a vector image, look how close I am. What percentage am I at? Should show up somewhere. I'm absolutely lost in this right now. Where the hell's... Oh, here at the top. I'm at 22,000% zoom in. There is no pixelation. 22,000. I'm moving further in. Look at this. I'm at 500,000% zoomed in. No pixelation. I'm going to hit Control 0. And there it is when I'm zoomed out. I can zoom out further and further. And it's just like a font. If I was to start typing text in here with a font, it would be exactly the same. I get closer and closer, and it's just basically, as it's a vector image, it's keeping those lines nice and smooth. There's no pixelation. And that's because it's an SVG file. And SVG files are vector files, and they do not pixelate. They stay like that, and they're also very, very, very tiny. So they are what you really, really want to use if you can. And if you're using a black and white image or something like this, they're quite easy to create. But really, you want something like Adobe Illustrator to use them, because Adobe Illustrator can do it automatically, whereas Affinity Designer cannot. And it's a little bit of a pain in the arse. So once again, I'm trying to keep to this design here that I've made, but I'm gonna make this look, you know, a million times better, hopefully. So next, I'm gonna start putting some boxes in. So we get my rectangle tool. We're going to put the fill, the fill as being white. Scrap that. We're going to put a text box in because we want to be able to type in this. And we're going to do it like... I don't really care too much about this for now. What we want for this box is we want to have... this to be printed, right? This isn't... what do I want to do with this? So you can see that there's a line here, but if I go to preview mode, that'll go away, right? There's no border around it, and I'm trying. I think there's a way to assign like a border around it, but for now, I can't remember how to do it. So I'm not going to waste time with that. All I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to actually stick a rectangle in. I want my fill to be white. So if I go to RGB sliders. Drag that up to the top, that's white. Want my stroke to be black, that's fine. The stroke size I actually want there to be a stroke, and I want it to be about, we'll just go with 1 point for now. And we're going to do this. So it doesn't matter too much. With placement, I can resize that really, really easily later. But I want to put that in for now. We want one for skills, so we're going to, whoops. I'm going to grab the second one here I just made, copied. I'm going to put it roughly down here for skills. Copy that again, paste, drag it down. This is going to be our torment or injury one. So we're going to put it like that. Put another one in. So undo that, copy this one, paste that one, and then we're going to have something like that. So I realize this is looking really shit right now, but this is just to kind of get the rough building blocks in place. Then we're also going to put one over here for bonds. Something like that. Alright. This is fine. This will do. This will do nicely, I think. what I should be doing is I should be looking at this little grid I've got here, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I kind of want I want to kind of stay similar to this. I've gone with, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not quite a third. It's a little bit less than a third of what I've got here, but I think that's enough for trappings. So if I think for trappings, I can do something similar. I can make this a little bit more narrow. So what I want to do is I want to kind of keep maybe this side. It just doesn't work too well, does it? This is central to the middle of the gray box, which is exactly what I want here for skills, right? This needs to be central. So if I put this one here and put it on the same line on the right-hand side, then I know that's central as well. I can resize this a bit and delete this one. I'm going to put that on the other side. And so we know that this is basically now centered at the bottom here. So I can highlight all three of these, and I can move them down a bit so that they're near the bottom of the paper. That kind of works, I guess. I'm going to open another file here before I forget. I'm going to go up to 9 little bees. I'm going to go to plebeians. I'm going to go to runners. And it's all in Photoshop. Shit. Can I open that in here? Hey, look at that. Perfect. I'm gonna get this paperclip asset. I'm gonna drag it over here. And I don't know why it's black on one side and gray on the other, because I've done it like that. Interesting. Okay, so the idea with this paperclip is that I'm going to use this as a suggestion here. Let's just double click on this or open it. How do I do the... Oh, gotta open it? Do I in photo? Yeah, alright. So if I look at the paperclip here, I add a adjustment layer with a single color. This is where I could do this much quicker in Photoshop if I was using Photoshop. I don't want to do that. Let's create another layer above it. I'm going to make that layer gray. Let's go with something like a darker gray, like that. I'm going to mask that. Cool. You can't see it because it looks like it's probably the same color as... It's the same color as the background, which was a bit of a stupid thing for me to do there. So let's grab the paperclip, let's move it here. And then we're going to mask this one below it. I don't know what's happened there. Okay, forget it. It's really annoying that it's doing that. So I'm going to close this down. I'm not going to save it. I'm going to quickly open Photoshop to cheat a little bit. It's the quickest way to do this that I can think of. I'm going to open that same file. So I'm going to go here to plebeians, runners, character sheet, right there. Not going to update. I'm going to grab the paperclip. Moons in Anguish. There we go. Paperclip. We're going to say, hey, paperclip. Oh, what the fuck? The whole thing is black. Jesus. Alright, that's fine. I can fix it in Photoshop fairly quickly. I'm going to click here. I want the color gray that's being used on that thing. Let's make it a little bit darker. Let's go with that sort of gray. Hit OK. I'm going to stick a solid color above it with that color. And I'm going to right click on it and say create clipping mask. And now I have a full paperclip that color. I'm going to merge those two together. I am going to call this paperclip. I'm going to save it as a new file, not the same file. And we're going to call it version 1.6 test. We're going to leave that open in the background, but we're going to open it again in here. And there it is. There's my paperclip. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to paste it. And there I've got it. So I can get rid of that one. Okay. Attila probably only going to have black and white. The whole interior of Pitchfork is going to be black and white. So black and white is kind of my idea with the character sheet as well. I should say monochrome because I'm going to have lots of shading in it probably too. Okay, so here I've got my paperclip. If I zoom in on it, you can see when I get close, it pixelates, right? Unlike the Pitchfork logo. This is not a vector image. This is, I think, a PNG. But again, I don't really care. I could create... In fact, you know what? No, I'm not going to waste time on it. I could make this into a vector image if I really wanted to, but I'm not going to. So I think I'm going to leave it like this way because you can tell when it's like... Not sure how I want to do this. So the idea here is that you've got these paper clips coming in off the edge. Like that. And I want 5 of them, so I'm going to copy one more. Alright, that looks about right. How did I do that over on... Google? All the way down the edge. Okay, interesting. Alright, make a group. I'm going to call the group paper clips. Put them all in there. Okay. Left paper clips. Now I can basically resize it and I'll resize them all together. I can move it, I'll move them all together. So we're going to keep it like that. We're going to possibly move them down here. Interesting, interesting, interesting. I've got a lot more space than I thought I would have. So I'm going to copy this, right click, I'm going to go duplicate. And I'm going to call this one right paper clips. I'm going to rotate it on its arse or head, however you want to look at it. And I'll move it over here to about there. Alright. Alright, that'll do. Don't need so much space for these. Skills can come right down as well. Right, now I want to put the attributes in here. And I think for now I'm going to do squares. Just realized I was still in the old persona. So I'm going to zoom in a bit here as well. And I'm going to start putting these things in. So, I'm going to go with rounded So these are basically the boxes I've got here. So you would type in, oh god, okay, this is something I need to fix as well. Do that quickly. Highlight all these. We're going to make them center justified, and vertically we're going to make them also center justified. We're going to jump the number up to 24, and let's see what those look like. So if you've got a 2 in that, you've got a 4 in that. Ah, god,
this is where this font is not great for numbers like this. So we're going to undo, 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 so they're all selected. Make sure they're still all justified correctly. And then we're going to change the font to something like... Wow, fuck it, I'm going to need to go like 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 1, 4. Highlight them so we can just see what it looks like as I'm changing the font. First we want to make it big, like that, and then we want to change it to something like... some handwritten thing. Why not? That looks alright. Delete them all. Finished. Alright. So that's the idea though, right? So we're going to go back over to Affinity and we're going to say, okay, let's put some rounded rectangles. Why not? If I hold the shift key down while I'm drawing these, they're going to become square. Like that. Now think about how big I want these. I don't want them too big. So we'll go with that. It's got a 1. The stroke is gray. I actually want a black stroke. And I want the line to be a bit thicker on these as well. Something like 2 point is probably good. Alright. Let's move it over to here. This is our toughness. Alright. You see when I was moving this, it's showing me the spaces between each of the ones on either side. So I get this exactly between 3 and 3, which is what I want here. Now if I drop this one down, I can get 3 between the one below it. And then we've got nice symmetry between like vertical symmetry. If I move this all the way over so it lines up, then if I hold shift, it will stay on its axis here. And I want to line it up here. So it's lined up with the edge of this box. And then I can make this box basically bigger. So I've got something like... Nope, did not want to do that. 2.6 at the moment, right? So make this a little bit smaller. 3.4. 2.9. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter too much. I'm just going to eyeball that. That looks okay. And this one I'm just dragging around. I'm watching the blue line in the middle bottom here. This blue line here, because I know this is the center line for the like vertical line. I want to try and keep that blue line more or less lined up in the middle, which it is. So if I just drag this around a little bit, I can get it lined up. Boom. And we're more or less roughly three gap here as well. Okay. So then I want to think about this can come up a bit higher to be in line with these ones. I can make the... make these a little bit bigger. Like that. Why not? They don't look as much like, okay, if you imagine that though the side is cut off here, they just look like loops. They don't look like paper clips anymore. So in this case, I might actually rotate them so they look like this. They look a little bit more like paper clips. Although it's really messy, too many lines now. It'd be nice to get rid of this line here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over here. I'm going to highlight one of them. Got to get the... Okay, whatever, the bottom one. Oh, because I flipped it around. And then I'm just going to basically do a crop on it. And I'm going to crop that bit out like that. Okay. The rest of it, in fact, I could crop the rest of it out, but I'm not sure exactly if I'm going to use it all yet or not. So we're going to just do that one like that. We're then going to delete the rest. But we're first going to duplicate this one, then duplicate it again, and then duplicate it again. Okay, and then we're going to basically do this. We're going to draw that, drag that one down, make it 3, put 2 in between. That works. to the next one. 2 between. There's 2. Next one. 2 between. And then the last one is this one here. Every time I'm moving these, I'm holding shift down on the keyboard so that they stay in line with each other. Okay, and then we've got those paper clips kind of lined up. I've got rid of the extra line, and they actually look like paper clips now. I'm going to drag this out, make it a bit bigger, and there we go. Okay. I'll be obviously adding text to these things, but I can actually even go in here now and say, I want to crop this thing. Whoops. I want to crop this like that. And hey presto, I've got my graphic cropped to the edge of the canvas. Right? This is the powerful thing about using Publisher, Affinity Publisher, is that I can move between the Affinity photo, which you have to own to be able to do, and I can use basically like it's basically like Photoshop. I can use it to modify the individual elements of of whatever I'm working on. So I'm gonna do exactly the same to the other side here. So I'm gonna highlight. Make another group for these. Any questions from the chat at the moment? Feel free to ask. Where the hell is my group? Okay, just do it like that then. Alright. So, I'm going to copy them and duplicate this group. I'm going to move it to here. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to transform it to flip it on the horizontal. Just like that. And then I'm going to zoom in a bit and we're going to move it so it's 3 apart away from that one. There we go. Just like we had on the other one. Alright, and then there we have it pretty much identical to how we have it on this side. This one I'm probably just drag up so it's the same. I don't know why the heights aren't lined up. That's not good. Oh, we've got 3.1 on this side and 3 on this side. So these aren't quite... Let's move this over like that. There we go. Because we know this is in the center. Okay. So this is the... Let's move it a little bit higher up. This is the left characteristics. Don't want to type that out again. And this is the right characteristics. Alright. We're going to take the left paper clips. We're going to duplicate them. We're going to move them across like that, holding shift down. Then we're then going to rotate it on its axis like that. And it's lined up with this gray line again. You couldn't see it, but it snapped to it when I was dragging it across. So I basically have done exactly the same thing to this side. Okay. Right. Getting there. So these are skills in here. These are the injuries and the torments. We have lots of space here for all sorts of shit. In fact, I could probably put like notes in the center here, and that'll be absolutely fine. What I like about this layout here is that, unlike on, because I'm constricted, I'm restricted to working with squares, little squares, and I haven't made tiny squares. I've left them at fairly big squares, 28 squares to work with, which is absolutely fine for something like this. I have a lot more freedom here, and that means I actually don't have to go to the edge for things like these boxes like I did here to make it kind of work and line up. Yeah, I've just got a little bit more flexibility. So I'm going to do the same here with this one. We're going to drag it. You can see it's snapping to a grid here and lining up with the right edge of that willpower box. But I don't want it down there. I just want to line it up. So I'm going to holding shift down. I'm moving it up, and I'm going to move it kind of further up towards the top. Again, I'm leaving a little gap at the top there. But yeah, I think I'll leave that more or less as it is. This is for trappings. I don't need a huge box for trappings. This one, I'm going to hold shift to drag it up so it's in line with this line here, the left line of the toughness box. I'm going to drag it up until it snaps in line with the bottom of the right-hand box. There. Okay. Good. So the center bit is, I'm going to leave that blank. That is going to be a space for notes. And yeah, nothing else. So to get this, I'm sticking with that kind of 3, that magical 3 number. There it is. And then it's easier to do that with a keyboard because it shows you the length. And then with this one, I can just resize and it'll snap it to the right spot. Oh God, it's not doing it. Right, let's see if I can make a new box. New rectangle, I mean. It's snapping the dot to this one here, which is great. It's showing me roughly 3, so I can zoom in a bit and get exactly 3, like that. And then I'm holding down and zooming out by holding control using my mouse, and it's not lining it up. Fucking hell! It should be lining it up with this box down here. It's not snapping. There, it's snapping. Finally, it's snapping. Let's make sure that's the same. Yeah, that's the same. Okay, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. You might think, whoa, that looks like shit. What the hell are you doing? I'll show you. Get rid of this box. This is the box I wanted, this size, right? What's wrong with it is that these boxes are 1 point. This is still 2 point like the characteristic boxes, so I actually want to drop that back down to 1. And then, because I've got the 3 gap on this between this one, which is what I really wanted, and I've definitely got it lined up with this characteristics box down here. I've got those sides done, and now I should be able to drag this back, and it should line up, hopefully, with the bottom of that other one. And it does. It's done it this time. I don't know why it does it like this in Affinity Publisher, but it should be snapping it every time you're resizing and stuff as well. It doesn't always do it if they're not close to each other, but usually when they're boxes like this next to each other, they usually snap. Massive caveat, that doesn't mean they always will snap, so don't take it out on me if they don't. Okay, we're gonna make this a bit bigger now because these are the dimensions I'm working with now, and I really need to learn. I apologize again, I'm a little bit embarrassed by this, but I do really need to learn about how to make SVG backgrounds, or backgrounds for things transparent in whatchamacallit. Right, crop. I should have done this initially as well. I'm just going to crop it to the actual title, so I'm not working with this kind of stupidly big canvas. I'm going to go back. Alright, there we go. Looks a bit better. This gray background, by the way, I'm going to be getting rid of. It's just there to show me where the halfway point for the A4 document is. So, that's fine. Okay, Bonds is taking up a huge amount of space. That's fine. I wanted to do that. I'm going to copy, paste. I'm going to drag this up. It snaps again into position quite nicely there. God, I don't know how big to make this. Let's make it 5 millimeters. Nice round number. We'll copy and paste. And how many do I want here? I want distinguishing feature. I want career, age, and name. Well, that's not that many, actually. Are they not lined up? What the hell happened here? Whoa, okay. What on earth is going on there? Okay, now it's snapping. Snapping the grid. That one was just a little bit off. Let's just check the other ones very quickly. Weird. Alright. So, I only need 4 of these, right? So, I know one of them has age in it and it needs to be kind of look a bit different, but that's fine. For now, I'm just selecting all 4 of these. I'm going to drag them up so they're a bit bigger where I need them, like that. And we have lots of space to write in here, right? This is going to be important when it comes to font size. Because remember, this is A5. And in fact, looking at it right now on my screen, this is almost exactly 100%. It's 101%. And in fact, like that's not necessarily a huge box to be writing in by hand. So, yeah, this looks good. Bonds is a perfectly decent spot to put bonds in. I'm going to leave this space in the middle here open for notes, so you can draw whatever you want to do. I'm not actually going to put anything in there. I'm just going to leave it empty. Skills. But I actually wanted to change something here. I wanted to actually put two boxes like this. Or did I? No, I don't want to do that. It's important for this one, I think, because that way you've got 2 different lines and you've got plenty of space to put in a lot of stuff for skills, right? I think the longest skill I've written down so far was bear heavy load. That fits in there with no issues whatsoever. So, yeah, this means you've got lots of space to put skills in. Skills are what you advance in this game. Your attributes don't advance, but you can shift them around a little bit. So yeah, I'm basically ready to put some text in here. I'm like 80% done with this character sheet. Where am I with time? 37 minutes. I've got 23 minutes still to go. So doing really, really well time-wise. So let's get some text in here. Now, there's a few ways to do this. The easiest way to do it is just to use these this text. What's it called? Text frame text tool, and it'll snap to this one. So I just highlight that whole thing like that. Voila. And here's where I can use all sorts of nice fonts, and this is where Publisher really comes into its own. So the first thing I want to say is I want to center it vertically in here, so it's not at the top, it's in the middle. Then I want to look at my font. I definitely do not want fucking Arial. In fact, I'm going to go with the font that I'm using for throughout a lot of things here to kind of stay with my brand, and that font is... Let me find it. Swivelled Gotish. I think I've actually seen this one being used in Murkborg. I might be wrong. But it's at 12 point right now. It looks really striking. It's free. It's completely free to use. Yeah. You see it there. Swivelled Gotish. If you type that into font thing, you'll find the guy who creates them. All of his fonts are completely free to use, also for commercial purposes. And this one, I think, looks really good. At least for what I'm creating here in Pitchfork. He does tons, like lots and lots of other ones too. Right. I want to put a little bit of an indent on the left so it's not touching the line. So we come over here to paragraph, sorry. And this first one here is left indent. And I just basically bump that up just to take it away where I want it. I only want it 1 millimeter away. That's fine. Okay. And there we have it. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste. I'm going to drag it down. In the next box, I'm going to put age. Now, this is where we were talking about before. I'm just going to drag this in a bit. We're going to select this one. We're going to copy and paste. We're going to make this one a bit smaller. I'm going to make this one a bit smaller as well. And we're going to go with something like, for age, we don't need a lot of space. Something like, again, I'm looking at the millimeter size. I'm just going to go 25 millimeters because I got no other way of caring about it. And do it like that. Age, then this box here gets thrown out. Hit Control C, hit Control V, the copy and paste, drag that out like this, and this one becomes upbringing. Alright, then I'm going to copy and paste name again because it's full width. Drag it down to here. This one becomes your career. I'm going to paste again, drag that down. This becomes distinguishing mark. I'm going to call again Dist mark. Arguably, this isn't enough space for distinguishing mark, so what I might do here is give it some more space. So if we make this a bit smaller, let's see, let's paste again, drag this down. And all I'm trying to do here is line up with the blue box there, because these are all the right widths, and I want this double width. Like that. Okay, there we go. Distinguishing mark, I just do that. And this one, I do... Oh, yeah, this is where this goes a bit funny. I actually don't want these in the middle. I want these at the top. I want these vertically aligned at the top. They're too close to the top, but again, I can drop it down. We got here top indent, or space before paragraph, which is drop this down a little bit. Not working. There's a way to do it though. Leading, I think, maybe. I do exactly. Nope. Use space always. There we go. Okay, so I've done 3 point. Looks about right from the top. So it's kind of in the corner a little bit. In fact, I'm going to probably drop the font size down to something a little bit smaller. Go with 10. 10 looks good, because you got more space to write in there. It's quite a chunky font, so that's okay as well. Yep, square skills will be centered over the 2 columns. Oh, that was from before. Just looking at the chat to see if I missed anything. You could put some nice art into the middle. Yeah, somebody could draw, could put a drawing in there, for example, or something. Yeah, absolutely. This isn't name, by the way. This is bonds. And I want to make this bigger, in fact. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at this one. We're gonna go control, oh no, in fact, we don't want to do that. Sorry, I want this one because this is a double height box. I'm gonna copy that one, paste, and then I'm going to basically put one there. I'm gonna put another one, whoops, underneath it like that. And that's the size I want. I want it at this depth for bonds, because bonds are really important in this game. So I'm going to move this up, the bonds text. I'm going to drag the box for it down, get rid of these ones. There we go. Cool. And this becomes trappings, and trappings is just a big box like this. I'm going to copy the bonds bit here, hit paste, drag it over here like this, and just fill the box. I don't even need to fill the box. It can just literally be like that big, but I like filling boxes because I just like filling boxes. I don't know. Call it an OCD thing if you want. Trappings. All right, then we come down here. We're gonna do, once again, pasting bonds again. Skills is the one I'm doing here, and for skills, I'm actually gonna put this also in the box. You can just kind of start writing underneath it. It's pasted it right at the bottom here for some reason, so I'm just going to drag this text up a bit. This is with the other text. There we go. Fill it out like that again. And we're going to call this, I don't need the colon on this one. Just call it skills like that. And this, in fact, trappings doesn't need the colon. The colon is needed because you're basically, they're smaller boxes. You're meant to be like, you could be writing next to it. Skills, I just want you to just kind of write them in however you want. It doesn't really matter too much. So I'm not going to copy skills. Where did skills go? Right here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. Take that bottom one. I'm going to stick it over here. And I'm going to call this injuries. Injuries with the colon this time. Then we're going to copy that one, paste it. I'm going to drag it over here. Ooh, wrong one. Take injuries, copy that, paste it. Take the bottom one, and we're going to drag it over here. And we're going to call this one torments. In fact, I'm going to get rid of the colon because I want this one to be over on the right-hand side. I have to remember to move this away from the right-hand edge now with the indent. So come back over here, and just over on this side, there's the same thing, right-hand indent. And because the colon won't work there, I'm going to get rid of the one on that next to injuries as well. In fact, just to make this a bit tidier, I can just get rid of the colons everywhere. It's just, they're not really needed because you're not going to be writing in the same font, obviously, as what's written here. And there we go. Like, that looks pretty sexy, I have to say. I quite like that. I think it looks really nice. Bear in mind, let's take this this rectangle off. Right, and let's do a preview. That's what the character sheet looks like currently. The pitchfork thing, this needs to be right at the bottom, actually. That's not good. Let's move this right to the bottom. Yeah. And that way these lines are, the boxes are sitting on top of it, because at the moment they were really close to each other, and the line, because the pitchfork layer isn't transparent underneath the black, it was sitting slightly on top of this black line from the name box. But yeah, I mean, that looks pretty good, I think. What I could do is I could turn this one back on, this gray box. Because this is sitting at the back, I actually kind of like having this, so we can do it like this. We can have a gray background where the white is kind of sitting on top of it. It makes it absolutely not printer friendly whatsoever. This has to go under the pitchfork title, otherwise it's causing problems. But then we also have the problem here with the pitchfork title is white on the background and not gray. So we'd have to change the layer here to be darken and not normal. And there we go. Look, it goes the same gray. It's darkening, so it's basically anything that's darker than the layer below it will be showing up. All right. So the last thing you do on here is to put the labels for the characteristic boxes. So we're going to do that now. And I think I'm just going to use the same font, same as what I've been doing before. We're going to do it slightly differently though. I'm going to go with center. Let's go to the paragraph. Like that. And we're going to call this is toughness. TO. We're going to resize this so it's actually in the entire box like that. I think that's probably all I need. Yeah, there's plenty of space to write underneath that. So we're going to go toughness. We're going to copy that, paste it, drag it over. This is strength, which is ST. We're going to copy and paste that, drag it down. That's going to be agility, which is AG. Copy and paste that, drag it down. This is precision. I mean, I could call this dexterity, but I want it to feel more like Warhammer than D&D. So I'm keeping things like strength and agility, which are and toughness. So these three here are all D&D, are all Wolfrup characteristic names. And strength obviously is also in D&D, but it's not. That doesn't really bother me. So I'm going to copy all of these, paste, drag them over here. They line up. Grab this one, drag it over there. Okay, and I just need to rename them. Cool. This is WP. All caps, but I could call it WP like this if that looks better. Willpower. Call it will. I'm going to call it WP. It's hard to read what that actually says. But I'm going to leave it like that for now. This is logic. This is cunning. And this is fellowship. One last thing to do, and that is to put some numbers in these paper clips. And the idea is your toughness level or your willpower level. If you've got, say, 5 in toughness, there are 5 available here. All of those are available. So once you take some damage to your toughness, it's basically like you put 1 in here. And once you've hit your toughness level, you're kind of moving down from the top. So if you've only got 3 toughness, you start at the top anyway, and you keep moving down until you've hit whatever your limit is. So for this one, I'm going to put, in fact, that's what I did for Google Sheets. I hopefully did too. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to just copy this. I'm going to paste it, and we're going to put it here. We're going to put it like this. Yeah, we're going to actually line it up completely with that one. Like that. We're going to put it centered vertically, which isn't quite right, so we'll fix that. And we don't want it centered like, oh, we can keep it, no. Let's move this to the right. So justified from to the right like that. We're just going to move it along. We're going to shimmy it along until it's where it needs to be, which is here, 3 millimeters from the right. And then we're going to drop it so it's not quite so high up here. So 0 is actually perfect for it. Yeah, we're going to get rid of that. And we're going to say 1. And again, it's too close to the edge, so we're going to move that out a little bit more. 4. Let's try 5. Let's try this. And in fact, I'm going to move this so it's the whole width of the thing like that. I'm going to copy this now. I'm going to paste, and hopefully... got a problem there. I actually... Okay, there we go. It's not snapping, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. There's my 2. Now that's too close. So we're going to actually, 5 is too close. We're going to move this to a 4. Take both of those, copy them and paste them, drag them down. That looks about right. That's a 3. That's a 4. And... Whoops. That's a 5. Come over to layers. I'm going to find those 1 through 5, which are here. Going to duplicate them. And then I'm going to drag the duplicates over to here. Holding shift down until they snap to the right hand edge, which is exactly what I wanted. All right. And then I'm looking to move them a little bit so that they are up here. And then drag them back down again. So we've got them. In fact, I can right click and group them and say these are the right, call them mental trauma numbers. Yep. And these ones here, highlight them, group them together, and call them physical trauma numbers. All right, so those don't look right, of course. So we're going to go to paragraph. We're going to fix this. We don't want them to be, I've got to highlight them individually, not the group. So we'll do like that. Paragraph, we don't want them 4 from the right. We want them to be left aligned, and we want them to be 4 from the left. Like that. And there they line up. And we're done, I think. There's my character sheet. This is my playtest character sheet. So in really in sort of, what did that take me? Kind of half an hour-ish for both of them. It doesn't take me too long to create these things. Now this actually looks half decent for a playtest. It didn't take me a huge amount of time to make it. I mean, I could make it look even better if I really wanted to. One thing I didn't do, so if I come over here to the layers, and I select. I don't want to select this one, so let me see if I can unselect that one. Okay, everything like that. Where is this thing here? This background? It's gone. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm going to right click. I'm going to group them. I'm going to call this left sheet. Then I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to call it right sheet. And I'm just going to drag that whole thing over to the right. And look at that. I've got an A4 sheet of paper with 2 character sheets that can be cut up in the middle. Obviously, you'd cut them along the line here where the paper clips don't line up, where they look a bit janky. But yeah, I could fix that, actually, by going to the right sheet, finding those paper clips, which are here. I want my left paper clips. They're both called left paper clips, which is not helpful. So I'm going to change that. These ones are the right paper clips. So left paper clips. We're going to right click. We're going to transform. We're going to flip it vertically. And there you go. They're lined up. There's a little line in between them. And that's fine because that little line is, we're in preview mode. It might come up when you're printing, and it basically means that's the line you kind of cut it on. If it doesn't come up in printing, then even it doesn't really matter. Fine. But that's basically me done. So I'm gonna fix that on the left sheet too, because I'm anal retentive like this. My left paper clips is called left. My right paper clips needs to be called right. If I was doing this, if I had a bit more time and I wanted to spend the time on it, I would actually spend some time grouping a lot of these things together. So I would group the boxes and the names for all of these together, and so they were next to each other. So the name box would be next to the box behind the name would be with the label for the name. They would be the labels and layers would be the same, and they'd be next to each other in the group within those. So it's easy to find them by navigating through layers. It'd be nested with different different levels, and it just makes it easier to find things. In fact, if I show you the if I open that this character sheet I was working with before, which is a Photoshop one. This is a good example where I grouped everything. I spent a lot of time grouping everything. So I have the top bit. If I click on that, you can see everything up here. If I click on that, that's everything at the top is in this thing called top bit. If I open that up, I've got everything. It's only one layer underneath that, but it gets more complex than the rest of them. So then if I look at my skill lists, that's this whole bit in the middle. If I untick it, that whole box in the middle goes away. If I open that up, I then have, there's this like stuff I'm talking about, which is the rectangle that goes around it, which isn't in a group. I've got the shape, which is this line that goes right here to separate the attributes from the skills. I've got the text in gray along the sides. But then under here, I have fitness. It's the fitness attribute with all the skills under. If I open that up, I then have my attribute boxes, which are separate. It's all nested, as you can see. I can find acrobatics and all the circles that live underneath it here. Anyway, and this is a good example of where I spent a lot of time, or a decent amount of time, making sure everything was kind of grouped together in my layers, because it just makes it easier to work with, for me anyway, rather than having a massive list of all these different elements and trying to find the right one. You can't click on it always necessarily, but if you have a logical kind of level structure, it's easy to find stuff. So anyway, I'm going to close this. I'm not going to save it. This I haven't saved it. Jesus, I haven't saved it yet. So I'm going to hit Control S. We're going back to 9 Little Bees, Pitchfork, and we're going to call this Pitchfork hyphen car sheet. I'm going to call it PL 0.2 playtest hyphen V 0.2. There we go. That's what I want. I'm gonna save. And then just like that, I'm gonna hit, I'm gonna export this. There's an argument to be made here that that having these lines on these boxes is wasted space. I could easily do something like this, right? Watch what happens when I do this. I'm going to group all these together, all these boxes I've made. Boxes. If I untick them, this is still a perfectly usable character sheet. It's just a lot more open with where you're going to put stuff. You write your trappings underneath Pitchfork. You write your name next to name, your age next to age, upbringing, career, distinguishing mark, bonds. Your skills go here in between your attributes. Your injuries and your torments go here and here. I quite like that as well. In fact, what I could do is I can have one side without it and one side with it, and then you can kind of choose which one you want to use. And it even could kind of work as a reference. So what I'm actually going to do is, because I'm just looking at that, I actually quite like that a lot. I'm going to do a version where this is the other option. So I'm grouping these together. I'm unticking it. And there we go. They're still there. I can add them back with by just ticking on a single group button, and instantly all those boxes are back. But I quite like having this So yeah. One other thing I could do is I could put a line down the middle right here, which basically would be like a dotted line to like cut along the dotted line. That does actually, I do find that helps when cutting sheets up like this. So I might actually do that. And the way we do that, one way to do that is to go here with, I'm not going to put it in either sheet. This is dividing the sheets in half, so it doesn't belong to either one. You could do it, you could do it two ways actually. So one easy way to do this is just to create a box like this. We're going to make sure it's not filled, it's empty. Opacity, drag it all the way down so it's empty. The stroke is black 1. Now if I click on this, I can actually make it so it's hashed like this. Oops. If I zoom in on it, you can see that it's a hashed line, and I can basically change all sorts of stuff. I can change how wide that is. I can change how big the gaps are between it. How do I do that again? Dashes 1, 0, 1. Okay, so I've got 1, 3.
There we go. Okay. We change the color to a gray. We'll go with swatches. We'll go with that gray. There we go. So we've got this gray hashed like dotted line. What I'm actually going to do with this is I'm going to stick it like this. I'm actually having it as a box, separating the two. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to stick it on this side as well. Because when you print this out, it's actually going to print this. So this one isn't wide enough. There we go. It's going to print this with the dotted line here and also along the edges, because basically what happens is you get automatic margins with your printer, and this will actually tell you if you want to cut the whole thing out along the dotted lines. So if I go here to print, and we go to print on my DeskJet printer, and we're going to say we're not going to scale, we're going to fit to printable area. What this would actually do, you can't really see it here, is it would actually it would make sure that there would be a little bit of a gap around the edge so that it printed nicely. And by having the dotted line in there, it means that, yeah, so I just hit save very quickly. It means that that will print out as well within the lines. And then you know, because what you want is you want these, you want the paper clips to be right on the edge of where you've cut it. You don't want to like have a gap. It needs to basically look like, anyway, like half of the sheet. So that's my character sheet. One other thing I can do here is I've saved it like that. The next thing I can do is I can crop the whole thing. And then it's not working. I'm gonna do it over here. Come over to crop. This is a weird cropping tool. Oh my god, I've never used this before. What on earth is happening here? Ah, okay. I select. Let's delete these. I'm going to select the right sheet, and I'm going to just delete it. Okay, I can just delete it. That's fine. Then we're going to go over here, Control 0, and I'm going to change my document setup to be not setup, but spread setup. Where is it? It's document. It's definitely a document. Where am I? I want to make it so it's only on one A4 piece of paper. Oh, page preset. So A5, portrait, hit OK. Grab the left sheet, drag it over into the middle. And hey presto, I have an A5 sheet going right to the edges, it looks like. Now what I can do here, what I might do here, is with my right paper clips. Okay, that's fine. They're on the... Oh, there's plenty of space with them. Okay, alright. Now we're good. Undo, undo, undo. We're going to redo, redo. Okay. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to save this one as... We're going to rename this one as playtest A402. And this one is going to be A5. Okay, and then I'm going to export them. So this is going to be exported as a PDF. It says for export. Yeah, I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to raster it at all. We're going to do the whole thing. And it's telling me right now this is only going to be 128 kilobytes in size. That's because the only graphic thing on here are the graphical elements are the paper clips, which are quite small sizes. And the Pitchfork logo, which is an SVG, which is tiny. If I open that up here... go back over to Pitchfork Art and show you how big this SVG file is. This one.
That's 165 kilobytes. So that's probably, it's probably being shrunk down. So as it gets shrunk down, it also is reducing the file size required for it. It's a tiny file. I'm going to hit export. Export. Still in Pitchfork. I'm going to leave it exactly as the name of the file, which is the default. Just hit save. And then I'm going to go and navigate there and see how big it actually has made it. Here it is here. Nope, this one here. 127 kilobytes. Let's open that in... here it is open in Adobe Reader. Let's zoom in. As I zoom in, it does actually pixelate it. As I'm this is at 1,200%. This is at 300%, so it still looks good. It's fine. It's actually, because I've made it into a PDF, one of the options there when I did the standard, in fact, I could change this. Let's change this. I'm going to export it. Not for export. We're going to keep it as digital high quality. It's keeping it. It's still rastering. So it's rastering the images to 300 dots per inch, which is basically making it into a flattened image. It's no longer a vector image. There's a way I can do this. I think it's just for print. No, there's a way to do this. I can't remember how to do it. I think it's for export. You go down to more. Rasterize nothing. Don't allow JPEG compression. Hit close. Hit export. We'll try this again and say version 0.2 V for vector. Let's see if that works. It is slightly smaller. Let's open it. Zoom in. Look at that. Look at that. 6,400%. Smooth lines. It's a vector image. It's slightly smaller than the other one. What won't look good are these paper clips. So if I really wanted to be very, very finicky about this, what I could do is I could convert these paper clips into vector images, and then they would be even smaller. They would look really great, like the Pitchfork logo up here looks. But this looks super great. Like, this is a PDF I could send to somebody. Whatever you're opening it on, just like the fonts next to it. Fonts are also vectorized, or like vector images. As close as you zoom in, they always look good. I'm at 6,400% here. And because this is a hand-drawn Pitchfork logo, which I've made into a vector, so this also just looks super, super good when you're zooming in on it. So I'm really happy with that. It's 122 kilobytes in size, which is tiny, and I think it looks really, really sharp. So yeah, that's me done. I'm 9 minutes over my allotted time, but I've just been kind of fiddling around a little bit with exporting and stuff, and I think it looks really good. So yeah, job well done. I'm going to close all my tabs here. I'm going to quickly, before I finish, while I'm remembering it, I'm going to come back to the A4 version, which I'm going to open. Open Pitchfork. A4. And for this one, I'm going to also export it. Hit me up in the comments if you got any questions about anything before I start turning this winding down. Call this a V as well, so I know it's the vectorized image. And then I'm going to open that one as well quickly in Acrobat. Just check. Look at that, nice and vectorized. You can see here there's these dotted lines going around the edge, just a little bit. In fact, I think it's only half of them because it cut them off. If I do print, and I do my actual physical printer, brother, I want it size. I want to fit it in, and it should then lower it to fit onto the printout to get it to work. Now, there's one thing I didn't do. I'm actually gonna take a little bit of time to do this. I can make a letter version of this as well very quickly. So all I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go to Document Setup. I'm going to change it to. How did I get that? How did I get it last time? I'm sure it was there. Spread setup, was it? It was here. Okay. We're gonna change this to letter. Letter format, not portrait. So we're just basically doing this. Now you can see what it's done is it's kind of compressed everything. I'm going to delete the whole right side of this thing. We're going to turn these rectangles off. In fact, we're going to turn them back on first because these are actually going to be our guiding lines. So we have one here. We want one to be in the center. And I don't know if this is actually in the center, so we're going to pull this away. I'm going to pull this whole thing away like that. And we want this just to check whether this thing here, this rectangle, is centered or not. So, and there, snapping to the middle there. So that's the middle point. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put this one here next to it. Like that. Bring it to the edges. Okay, then we're going to shrink them down. Get rid of them. Now I want this left sheet to be on the edge there. And then if we bring this rectangle back, that's where we need to bring it, make it more narrow and longer. And this, the easiest way to do this is just to find the elements of it that need to be resized. Well, what we could do is just do this. Shrink it. But if you see what happens to those boxes, they no longer stay square, right? I want to actually keep them the size that the normal size that they are, so I'm going to undo that so it stays the same. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to find the various elements of it. I'm going to move them in. So take the right characteristics. I'm going to take the right paper clips. And this is where grouping would be really useful. If I had grouping, then the text would move with these, but the text is not going to move with them, so I'll have to do that separately. But for now, I'm just going to move these ones. I'm going to hold shift down. I'm going to move them over right there until they're in line with that line there. Okay? The problem is I've also grabbed the left characteristics, which I did not want to do, so I'm going to undo that. I'm going to unselect the left characteristics. There we go. And just move those ones across, because they're lined up over on this side just where I want them. Okay. Then what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to turn these boxes back on. We're going to need to fix these boxes because that's important here. Let's find this box here. Delete it. We're going to take the injuries box there. We're going to copy and paste it. And we're going to move it across so it's basically in line with the other one. It's too big now, right? So what we actually need to do is we need to resize this skills box. To something like that. I'm not sure that's the same width. Both sides. If we take the characteristic boxes and move them. It's not showing me the space between. That's not good. It'll do for now. It'll do for now, because I'm getting rid of the box anyway, right? But what I want to do here is I want to actually line this one up with the middle of that skills box, which is there. And then... there we go. We grab this one. Make it the same size. Pop it there. Okay. Then I need to grab all this text here. I need to bring it in line. So we're gonna make the boxes. In fact, before I forget the boxes, I'm gonna make the trappings fit, which is the really long one here, and that just needs to be in line with that box there, like I did before. It snapped for a minute and then it went away again. That's because the text trappings is getting in the way. So we're going to find trappings. We're going to bring that in a little bit further, like that. It's probably causing havoc at the moment, but that doesn't matter. Come on. Fucking hell. Snap in place. Annoying. Right. We want willpower, logic, cunning, fellowship. There's torments. At the bottom there. Torments. Let's move these all over. Not moving over very well. Here we go. Let's take torments and we'll make it the right size box. There we go. Take skills, make that the right size box. There we go. And the numbers. Numbers need to move over as well. Where are they? Mental trauma numbers. We're going to move those over here. There we go. Alright. And then the last thing to do here is to take... That's right, I need to group them now, I think. Fellowship, cunning, logistics, willpower. So we're going to group these and call them mental characteristics. I'm gonna move them down here a little bit. We're gonna put the mental trauma numbers right below them, like that. We're gonna move physical above them, like that. We're gonna put presence and agility, or precision, I should say. Sorry. I'm gonna call these physical characteristics. We're gonna drag the other two in there. Upbringing stays at the top. Age, all that kind of stuff. Name. But we want injuries. We want to put those injuries in with the physical characteristics. I'm going to put the torments in with the mental characteristics. Okay, then we got our left paper clips. Left paper clip's going to go with the physical ones. So under here. Right paper clip's going to go under the mental ones over here. Not underneath, but rather below it. There we go. Left characteristic boxes are going to go left characteristic boxes are going to go next to the characteristics, like that. And the right characteristic boxes are going to go up here under those ones. We're going to take all of the skills, need to stay at the bottom here. We'll put skills up here. Like that. And basically I'm going to highlight all of these. And I'm going to say, I'm going to right click, I'm going to group them together and call this bottom section. If I click on that section, the whole what else is in there that shouldn't be in there? Those. Oh, all the text shouldn't be in there. Oh, okay, yeah. Don't know how they got in there. So move these out. Like that. There we go. So now, bottom section is literally just this bottom section. What it's missing are the boxes, right? So I'm going to actually split these boxes out. I'm going to look for torments, injuries, line them up so it's a bit more clear what they are. Skills are going to go above them. Like that. And these are going to go directly into bottom section like this. Now if I untick that, the whole bottom section should disappear. Perfect. Okay. And then everything else is at the top. But what I want to do first is I want to take that bottom section, I want to move it down ever so slightly. Like it was on the A4 one. So just moving it closer to the bottom edge. Like that. Okay. Then I'm going to open this. I'm going to group these together as boxes. I'm going to untick it because I don't actually want them. They should also be at the very bottom and not at the top because they're actually blocking stuff. So we're going to put them under skills like that. So when they do come back, skills are still there. This is how layers work. Yeah, Tony, thanks for watching. And hello, Eric. I've basically finished two sets of character sheets, one in Google Sheets and one here in Affinity Publisher, which work really well in... I'll show you an example here. So here's an A5 character sheet. I decided to go without the boxes because I like the white space. I like the freedom to just write whatever you want in wherever you want. Looking at trappings, I might actually put that over to the right. Yeah. And now I'm working on letter versions, so there'll be a version, PDF version to print out for North Americans and not just centered on the international crowd. So that's what I'm doing now. And then I'm done. I'm going to group all these together as top section. Make sure that the pitchfork thing goes in there and that it goes to the bottom and not the top. And so, just like that. Okay, trappings needs to come over a bit like that. Oh, not yet because I need to fix the box for it. So we got the box for trappings. Again, this is where I'm going to have to actually drag this down so it's in line like this, I think. There we go. Let me drag it up so it's in line with the box to the left of it. There we go. All right. And that's where I want it to be. Now what I just noticed is the trappings should actually, this should actually be on the right hand side and not on the left, I think, when the boxes disappear. So we're going to move this over to here. We're going to give it the same indent as it had on the other side, which is just 1 millimeter. And that's it, I think, for this sheet. Yeah, that's it. So I'm going to save this as a new one. We're going to hit save as, and we're going to call this letter. It's not quite finished. I just wanted to save it before I accidentally do something bad. I'm going to untick the boxes at the top, so it's also empty. This is the left sheet. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call the one on the right sheet. And move it across. I'm still in preview mode. Let's take that off. Okay, then I've got this weird thing here again. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the right sheet, go to the bottom section. We're going to find the paper clips on the left, and we're going to right click on them, and we're going to transform them to flip on the vertical, and then they line up like that. All right. And then we are basically done. Let's turn the rectangles on. So we've got the grids. Let's go back to preview mode. Hit save. And there we go. We got a letter version ready to print out. So I'm going to export that to just like that. Call it V for vector. Let's check the file size on that. Letter. We've got a 213 kilobyte PDF. Let's open it up. Just check that this is also vectorized. It is. I go to 6,400%. Nice clean lines on my logo there, just like the fonts. Yeah, job done. All right, last thing to do is to then do the same thing we did before. We're going to go to preferences. Nope, we're going to go to persona here. The photo persona. I'm going to crop. In fact, I didn't do a crop actually. I didn't do persona. Sorry, these are called personas at the top here. Photo persona. I actually did this all in Publisher. So if I just delete the right sheet completely, delete these rectangles because I don't want them. Just have this what's called the left sheet, and then I resize the whole document. Where I go here. Let's see. It should be coming up top there. Should have an option. Ah, okay. Unselect. I go to spread setup and change it from being letter to being whatever half letter is. It's not going to be the option, right? So if I change it, one thing I'll have to change is I'll have to change the document from being in millimeters to being in inches, because that's how Americans work on this sort of thing. Go to spread setup. It's not 8.5 and 11 inches. I want it portrait. 8.5 inches tall, and it's half of 11 wide. So this is 5.5 inches wide. Hit OK. Boom. It looks like I've done something crazy here, because I've made it the wrong size. Whoops. I want it portrait. Oh, this is the height here. So it's 11. It's 8.5 on this side. And it's 5.5 on this side. Let's try that. Hopefully. It should just literally be half of the other one. I'm not sure what happened there. Right, let me just do some quick maths in my brain. 8.5 by 11. Fold that in half. You're cutting it in half. You're cutting the long width in half. It's no longer 5.5. It's no longer 11. It's half of 11. It's 5.5. So what the fuck is going on here? Oh, it's locking my... Okay, I forgot to take the padlock off. It's locking my my dimensions, which, because the American formats aren't locked in dimensions like the international ones, so A4 and A5 are exactly the same dimensions. So if you cut that in half, it's exactly... They fold perfectly together and everything. It works really nicely. It doesn't work that way here, so just do it like that. And there it works. Now we're done. All right. So that's finished now. Yeah, I'm going to save this one as half letter. And we're going to export that one as half letter with a V on the end. Although I didn't actually need to do this because my Pitchfork is going to be an A5. It's going to be A5 when it's finished. And the only reason I'm doing this is so I have a version I can stick into the book itself if I want an example like at the back of the book of what the character sheet looks like. That's all. Anyway, so the last thing I need to finish is I need to come back to these A4 and A5 ones, and I just need to fix where trappings is sitting on the list. I don't want it justified on the left. I want it justified on the right, and I want to give it a paragraph bump of 1 millimeter just to push it a little away from that box if I want to bring it back. Yep, that's it. Save, export. I'm nearly done here, everyone, so bear with me very, very quickly. A5 with the V. I'm actually going to delete this one. So A5 with the V is that one. Hit save, replace it, yes. Right, I'm going to close that. I'm going to open the A4 one. I'm going to find the trappings layer. I'm going to bump it to the right, put 1 millimeter from the right, find the right hand side and do the same. Right justified, 1 millimeter. All right, done. Save that, export it, and replace the previous A4 one I had done. There's that one there. Hit save, replace, close down Affinity Publisher. I should have saved it. Save again. Close. So, Eric, just because you came on, this is what the Google Sheets version looks like. It's very, very tidy, very small. You can type in your toughness scores here like this, whatever they happen to be. You've got these little check marks to mark trauma as you take trauma, and it's all very minimalist, which is what I wanted to go for. You can type your bonds in here, trappings, your skills, your injuries, your torments, etc. So yeah, very, very much a very lightweight character sheet. In fact, what I might do here, I might just add something like 10 more rows at the bottom and leave that blank for, or add something like this for notes. I think I'll do that. Just thinking about this a little bit. Let's merge that, make it black, make that white text, and then all the rest of it is going to be white. If I can get rid of the notes, I'm just going to delete that. Just hit delete, undo that, make it white, make the text black. And what we're going to do here is we're going to merge this whole field. We're going to make it left justified and top justified. We're going to take the bold off. And then as you type in here, you can take notes. Hit, not control, enter, shift, not shift, I mean, is it alt enter? Alt enter. Add another line, 2 lines. And you can take notes in here like this. What might actually be more useful, in fact, is doing this in 2 boxes. Like this. Merge, vertical, horizontal, copy, and paste. And there we've got just 2 empty boxes at the bottom there that can be used for whatever you want. You can put a portrait in there, you can put notes in there, whatever you want. They're just empty. And when you type in them, they just basically, it's like a normal text entry box in Excel. In fact, I might just put this something like use this box for text entry for taking notes. Or whatever you want. There we go. And I'm done. Okay.
Yeah, million euro question there, Magnus. As I said at the beginning of the stream, which you both missed actually. The idea here is I made a big change to the game in that I have these characteristics now: strength, agility, precision, logic, cunning, and fellowship, and the 2 secondary characteristics of toughness and willpower. So I've moved away from skills only. Skills are a massive list. If I show you the list here in the game, this is how many I currently have, but it also is a kind of non-exhaustive list. You can just add skills if they make sense to the game, and it shouldn't break anything because they're treated like narrative tags. If you've got sleight of hand and it makes sense in the action you're attempting, then you can get an extra dice in your dice pool because you're skilled at using sleight of hand. So kind of tying it to Warhammer First Edition in that regard, and that really has fixed a lot of the issues, the small niggling issues I had design-wise with the previous system. Yeah, and the reason I've decided to do a character sheet today is because that was a pretty fundamental change to what I'd done previously. I'm really happy with it. I don't want to start fiddling with that again, and if I actually create a character sheet, I can still fiddle with the character sheet a little bit, but because I've spent a lot of time thinking about how it looks, I'm less likely to make a massive fundamental change to the underlying design, to the underlying system. And this is my way of kind of mentally telling myself, all right, enough is enough, get on with the rest of it, finish it, don't fiddle around with the core of the game, finish the document. And by making these character sheets, by not just doing one in Google Sheets, because the Google Sheets one I did in like 15 minutes while streaming, it didn't take very long at all, and I could quite easily make a fundamental change and just make a new Google Sheet. It's not hard to do. The Affinity one takes longer, and by making both an A4 and a letter version of it, that's something I'm less likely to be fiddling around with later because it's a lot harder to do. It's a lot more time consuming. So I'm basically setting myself some constraints by finalizing elements of the design. That's effectively what I've done. So yeah, it needs playtesting. I might make some, playtesting will determine whether it works or not, and that's fine. I don't consider any of this wasted time if I end up completely changing and doing something different. So this is just me enjoying the process. I really love the layout sort of stuff. I love using Affinity. I love using Photoshop. I love dipping into these layout programs and fiddling around with things behind the scenes. I'm very much a layout person, and yeah. So this is, again, as I said at the beginning of the stream, doing this now is a way to give me a little bit of a refresher from the writing side of things. So writing the rules down, doing the wordsmithing can be quite draining at times, and I find personally I like to have a little bit of a break from that, and doing stuff like this is a nice little change. So yeah, I've gone a half hour over, but I was basically finished bang on time. I just basically spent the extra time creating the letter version of it, just to show people, really, that's really to show how easy it is once you've created an A4 version to just fucking make a letter one. Or if you're making just a letter one, just make a fucking A4 one. It doesn't take long at all. Really, it doesn't. And I don't know why people don't do this more often when they're creating games. They only think of their own. Often they only think of their own target demographic, or of their target demographic. This is one area I wish Free League would get a little better with, because they only make letter versions of their character sheets. I actually got. In one way, it kind of annoys me, but on the other hand, I probably wouldn't be here right now if they had done A4 versions, because I got into the hacking game with Free League when Mutant Year Zero came out, and I was fed up of I didn't like the design of the character sheet. There was a lot of wasted space. The talent box was too small in use, and it was letter. So when I printed out into A4, I had these massive gaps at the top and the bottom, lots of wasted space on it. I was like, okay, I'm designing my own sheet. And I got Photoshop out. Affinity Publisher didn't exist back then. I wasn't really a big user of InDesign at the time. And in Photoshop, I created a perfect A4 one with very little wasted space. And that's how I got into the hacking game. And from there, it was a long descent into where I am now. So yeah, I guess in some respects, not catering to everyone means that people will just do it themselves. There'll be hacks made, fan made stuff, and more people are fiddling around with your game and your system, and that's, I guess, a good thing too. So Swings and roundabouts. But yeah, I'm done. So thank you for watching. I don't want to stretch this video any longer than it has to be. Thanks for the chat, everyone. And yeah, I'll catch you next time in the next Pitchfork Dev Diary. Hopefully getting close to the finishing line now. There's a few more bits to finish. But with the character sheet, really, people could start playing very, very soon. There are just a few little things I need to fix. I made this big change that I've made. There are a few little things that I've had to go through and just kind of iron out. Like the careers don't make any sense more. Don't make any more sense now that I've done them. So I need to kind of scrub those a little bit. And a few other little just bits and bobs. But mostly, this has been a change. This fundamental design change has been a change so that the whole rule set is a little bit simpler. And that means there's probably a little bit, hopefully, a little bit less for me to do now in making changes. So yeah, good. Catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and yeah, if you have any comments, leave them in the comments below, or check out all the links in the description underneath the video for links to Discord or Facebook or Twitter. I'm checking all of them daily. Discord is really active. If you use Discord or you're tempted by Discord, that's the place I'd recommend going. It's not a super huge server, so it's not extremely active, but everybody on there is golden. So yeah, catch you next time. I'm gonna stop the stream. So thanks very much. Bye bye.